Syracuse basketball nearly pulls off a miracle against Houston, but they fall just short.
You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Tough one. Encouraging, but still painful. Hello, everyone. I'm Jackson Holzer. This is Locked On Syracuse. Thank you for making Locked On Syracuse your first listen of every single day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. And of course, we are always free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And on tonight's show, we are recapping Syracuse basketball's overtime loss to the number 3 ranked Houston Cougars, 78-74. We'll go over the road ahead for Syracuse. We'll talk about how they're not going to have Donnie Freeman. They didn't have him for this game against Houston. They won't have him tomorrow for Kansas, and they're not going to have him in the third game in Vegas for this tournament. And we're also going to recap what was a pretty fun, entertaining, wild game that went to overtime, but unfortunately, it did not break Syracuse's way. All that and more coming up here on today's edition of Locked On Syracuse. And before we get to everything, this episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. I think we can all agree on the fact that Syracuse basketball in this game against Houston, as nearly 15-point underdogs and missing their best player on the team in Donnie Freeman, that they exceeded our expectations. They were ready from tip. The first basket of the game, we talked about in the lead up how they need to make their open shots. And the first basket was J.J. Starling from the left corner drilling a 3. Syracuse opened up a 23-14 lead in the first half, and you knew it wasn't going to last because this is the number 3 ranked team in the country for a reason in Houston. You knew they were going to have some pushback, and they did. This is a really good Houston team. This is a really good measuring stick for Syracuse because in their first 4 games, we know the deal. Syracuse was not exactly playing against the cream of the crop of college basketball here. A bunch of mid-majors that Syracuse, to their credit, they beat up on for the most part, aside from that Monmouth game, which was very, very weird. But I think we can kind of conclude that that Monmouth game was a fluke. We all know that that was a fluke, right? I think that Syracuse has proven that they are a much better team than what they showed against Monmouth in a game that I don't think that they played that poorly in, if you go back and check out that post-game podcast. Having said that, one more thing about that, Syracuse, I'm checking KenPom right now, they moved up all the way to 52. So this loss technically helped Syracuse out. So it's not a bad loss. But having said that, it's really hard to give a moral victory for Syracuse. As encouraging as the game was for the Orange, you can't really give out a moral victory because Syracuse, they could have won this game. In fact, you can easily make the argument they should have won this game. The big reason why Syracuse did not beat Houston is the same thing that gave him trouble against Monmouth. It's the same thing that has given this team trouble through all 5 games this season. And that is the fact that for whatever reason, this team cannot make free throws. That was the story of the game. With all due respect to Bruce Pearl, he said at halftime when talking about the adjustments that Houston needed to make and how they need to play better. And the thing that he said on the broadcast was they need to stop fouling. With all due respect to Bruce Pearl, I'm not trying to sit here and say Bruce Pearl that I know more basketball than him. Obviously, I don't. I'm not a former Division I basketball head coach. But with all due respect to Mr. Bruce Pearl, have you seen Syracuse free throw shooting this season? They came in as the worst team in the ACC in free throw shooting, and all they did tonight was make it a whole lot worse. The stats for you all, ladies and gentlemen, Syracuse basketball as a team, I'm pulling it up right now, was 12 of 29 from the free throw line. That is 41%. If I told you that was their 3-point percentage, you would probably believe me. I don't get it. I can't explain it. But if Syracuse basketball just makes a respectable amount of free throws, they would have beaten Houston. The other reason why it's hard to give out a moral victory for this game is because Syracuse, to their credit, they go on a miracle 11-0 run in the final few minutes of the game. It was sparked by what I would like to call an and four. Because J.J. Starling, off a turnover, goes to the rim, gets fouled, and one. So he gets the 2 points right there. He promptly misses the free throw because nobody was making free throws. But Tyler Betsey swoops in and tips it in to make it a 5-point game with a couple minutes left. On the next possession, after Syracuse gets a stop, in which case, by the way, there was a moment there where the ball don't lie because Syracuse, they forced a turnover, but the officials didn't overturn the call on the floor. I understand it, but it looked like it should have been Syracuse's ball. But to their credit, they still get the stop. William Kyle gets a dunk, and then right after that, Tyler Betsey hits the game-tying three-pointer at, I believe, 67-67. And the Orange, once again on defense, which was terrific all game long, they get the stop. And so they quite literally had a chance to win this game with one shot. One shot to win. Could you imagine what the reaction would have been like? Now, Nate George had the ball all the time in the world. I thought he should have pulled up. Instead, he dips it inside to William Kyle. William Kyle, I don't even think he really beat the buzzer with that attempt. I have to watch the replay over again. But regardless, JoJo Tugler made sure that wasn't going to matter because he blocked the shot anyway. And so even though Syracuse, in a miracle effort, forces overtime, it felt like a missed opportunity. It felt like that was their chance to win this game. And I apologize for sounding a little bit negative. The reason why is because moral victories don't really exist. They don't. When you have chances to win, you never know if you're going to get another chance to win a type of game like that. Now, fortunately for Syracuse, we'll talk about it later on the podcast. They do have a chance to redeem themselves in what I would think is a must-win game against Kansas. They're missing their best player in Darren Peterson. But it kind of leaves me feeling empty. This felt like a moment where Syracuse can announce to the world that they are back as a program by upsetting the number 3 ranked team in the country without their best player. And they fought so hard. And they fought so hard in that overtime as well. And I thought they got screwed at one point in that overtime as well. There was a moment with about 45 seconds left, and I don't like to blame officials. And trust me, I'm not blaming the officials. But I'm recapping this game. I want to point it out that the Orange got screwed with about 45 seconds left because Milos Uzan, I think that's how you pronounce his name. I apologize if I get it wrong. He's allowed to take 20 steps going to the basket. Since when did they change the traveling rules of basketball? And on top of not calling traveling, they called a foul as well. And of course, Uzan, he is terrific. Can we get that guy in the portal? I think he's out of eligibility, but can we rewind the tape there? How much for him? I'll take him. He was the best player on the court, both sides. And I know that Houston's got some great players, and Syracuse, to their credit, they got some great players too. I like this Syracuse team. This is a Syracuse team I can rock with because they fight so hard and they're athletic and they don't give up in games. And Uzan, well, the ball did lie. He made both free throws, 76-72. And Syracuse tried playing the foul game, but it didn't matter because Uzan hits 2 more free throws. And so the Orange lose 78-74 in overtime. Comment your thoughts in the comments section below. What were your takeaways from this game? Honestly, I do feel encouraged, but it would have felt a whole lot better had Syracuse been able to pull this out. They had a legitimate chance to do it, and they fell short. Comment your thoughts in the comment section below. Coming up, we'll talk about Donnie Freeman and his injury, so stick with me here on Locked On Syracuse. The holiday season is right around the corner, and that means it's time to get your home ready. Whether you need more seating for guests, cozy new linens, or fun serveware for holiday hosting, Wayfair's Black Friday sale is here to help you make your space shine. And the best part, you don't have to wait. Wayfair's Black Friday deals are happening all month long with up to 70% off everything from sofas to spatulas. If you've ever hosted family for the holidays, you know how much difference a few new touches can make. Wayfair makes that easy. Don't miss out on Black Friday deals. Head to wayfair.com now to shop Wayfair's Black Friday sale for up to 70% off. That's Wayfair, wayfair.com. Sale ends December 7th. Locked On Syracuse, I'm Jackson Holzer, and once again, we are recapping Syracuse basketball's 78-74 loss in overtime to number 3 Houston. But before the game, we were treated to an injury. And I love this, I say in a sarcastic tone, because I absolutely love waking up on game day with no prior knowledge. Nobody really had any prior knowledge of this except for a few people who were scouring the internet and somehow figured it out. Donnie Freeman. There were concerns going into the game that he wasn't going to play. And based off that messaging alone, you knew he wasn't going to play in this game. And that's why the line, by the way, moved significantly into Houston's favor. They were already favored pretty big. It was about 11.5, 12.5 points. I think by tip-off, it was 14.5, according to FanDuel. And that's because Donnie Freeman was announced that he was not going to play. This was about 2 hours before the game actually started. He will not play the entire Vegas Players Era Challenge, so he's going to miss the game tomorrow against Kansas. He's going to miss the following game as well, which will either be on Wednesday or Thursday. And he is going to be reevaluated when the team gets back to Syracuse. He is dealing with a lower body injury, and I do believe that he was wearing a boot on his right foot. Then, Syracuse.com's Donna DeTota, with great reporting, she wrote the following, and I'm paraphrasing. Donnie, he was injured at some point in the Monmouth game. We're not exactly sure when he was injured. I know that there's speculation out there trying to figure out exactly when he was injured, but I don't know if it's necessarily fair. We don't really know for sure when he was injured against Monmouth, especially because he finished out the game. And obviously that's because of adrenaline and everything like that. But the point is that there was no moment where Donnie Freeman left for a significant portion of the game where you would be able to tell that he got hurt. So he got hurt during Monmouth. We just don't know exactly when he got hurt. The injury is not related to the same one he had last year, which was to his right foot, even though he was wearing a boot on his right side. So I don't know exactly what it is, but that's what the reporting is saying. And then here's a quote, which is sort of concerning, but I'll read the quote for you. The hope is that this is not a season-ending injury and that Freeman will heal through rehabilitation and return to the team. I'm sorry, the hope is that it's not season-ending? You know what? You never really know with the Syracuse medical staff, because if you recall last year with Syracuse basketball, and I know it was a pretty terrible year, so some of you may not remember this, but when Donnie Freeman was initially injured for Syracuse last year, the team announced that it was a, quote, day-to-day injury. So who knows what we hope is not a season-ending injury means? I guess I'll just take it on face value. We know he's not returning this week. We'll see what happens when Syracuse gets back in action at home next Tuesday against Tennessee. I think Syracuse could use Donnie Freeman for that game. Point is that he's not playing this week, and he didn't play tonight against Houston, and Syracuse is going to have to deal with it. To their credit, this team is significantly better than last year. This team proved tonight that they can survive without Donnie Freeman. In fact, I would say that the most valuable thing that Donnie Freeman brings to this team right now is the fact that he seems to be the only one on the team that can actually make a free throw. So that's where Syracuse really misses out on Donnie Freeman. But Syracuse, in this game against Houston tonight, they scored 74 points, and I understand it was overtime, but their defense was terrific against Houston. They almost out Houston. And they did it without Donnie. So I'm sorry. I'm not giving a pass to this team. And that's to their credit because I think they've earned that from us. This is a pretty good basketball team that I think is capable of making the NCAA tournament. That's the encouraging part about tonight is that they did it. They were this competitive. They were this close. They had a shot to actually win the game, quite literally, without their best player. So moving forward, there's no excuse for this team to not make it, whether or not Donnie's injury is season ending or not. Obviously, it helps to have him in the lineup. I'm not going to sit here and downplay Donnie Freeman, okay? Donnie Freeman is obviously very, very important to this team. I think there were a number of moments in this game where Syracuse could have used a bucket, and that player who could have given them a bucket is perhaps Donnie Freeman, especially in that overtime. It would have been nice to have Donnie on the floor and at the free throw line as well. But overall, this team's pretty deep. This team has talent. This team has good players. And the best part about the team is that they care and they give maximum effort and they show defensive intensity. And if you give max effort and you play terrific defense, Houston is the blueprint. You can be competitive against anyone in the country. You play the way that you played tonight, and of course I'm saying you, but I am referring to Syracuse. You ran up against an incredible team with great players. Emmanuel Sharp was unbelievable in that overtime. Going back to the moment here, he made it was a three that put Houston up 74-69. I thought that was the dagger three. I did. I thought that shot was the moment where I was just like, you know what? Syracuse fought hard and they kept fighting. They kept fighting. They kept fighting. And it just seems like they ran out of time. So the Donnie Freeman and the injury, I hope he comes back as soon as possible. But it's not an excuse for this team. It's not like last year where if one player gets hurt, aka it was either JJ Starling or Donnie Freeman, the whole team, which wasn't very good to begin with, is going to fall apart. This is not a Syracuse football scenario where Steve Angeli goes down and the entire team falls apart. No, Syracuse basketball proved tonight that even without Donnie Freeman, who is their best player, they are still more than capable of beating plenty of teams around the nation. That's optimism, ladies and gentlemen. See, I'm not always pessimistic here on Locked On Syracuse. Not always pessimistic. I know I have that reputation, but it's not true all the time. Sometimes I am pretty pessimistic, but you know what? The team also hasn't made the tournament since 2021, so maybe I have good reason for it. I'm hoping that ends this year, though. I'm hoping it does. Comment your thoughts in the comments section below. I mean, I haven't asked the question to you yet, ladies and gentlemen, but feel free right now. Chime in. Do you think that this team is a tournament team? Comment in the comments section below. Now, coming up, we will talk a little bit about the next game coming up for Syracuse. So stick with me here on Locked On Syracuse. It's the final week of the regular season in college football, and I couldn't be more excited about it. You got the tailgates, big rivalries, energy in the stands. There's nothing like it. But let's be real for a moment. Actually getting tickets for these high-stakes games can feel like more of a battle than the actual game. I mean, you got endless queues, you got hidden fees, and my personal favorite, wink, wink, prices magically jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you are going to pay. And honestly, with Game Time, it's faster, it's cheaper, and less stressful than any other way I've bought tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Thank you so much for making it to this point here on Locked On Syracuse. Once again, we are recapping Syracuse basketball's overtime loss to Houston, the number 3 ranked team in the country. And hey, since you've already made it this far in the podcast, if you haven't done so already, please feel free, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It helps the channel grow to reach all Syracuse Orange fans in what I hope is going to be a very good season for Syracuse basketball. I really do. As painful as this loss was, as much as I don't want to hand out a moral victory, and I am not doing that, it is still encouraging that they performed in this way, because you have to figure if they can continue to perform this way, that they are going to get better results when you're not playing against the number 3 ranked team in the country. Houston is Houston for a reason. This is a team that was in the national championship a year ago. They got 2 outstanding freshmen, Kingston Flemings and Chris Senak, who was quiet except for a couple of minutes in the second half where he appeared to have woken up and then he promptly went back to sleep. Shout out to William Kyle, by the way. He's awesome. He's awesome. What more do you want me to say about him? He is an elite defender. You can see on the court that he disrupts everything, even when he's not actually blocking a shot. You can see specific moments in the game. There was one, and it's slipping my mind, I apologize, where you can clearly tell that the guy was driving to the basket and he could see that William Kyle was right there at the rim, and it completely changed the trajectory of the shot. He's awesome, and he held that outstanding freshman center at Houston in check. Completely neutralized him. And it's not going to get much more tougher than that, except for Cam Boozer and Wilson from North Carolina. Other than that, Senak is right up there with some of the best centers in the country, best big men in the country in general. But the road ahead for Syracuse, they do have another game tomorrow, and they are going to have to regroup, and hopefully they are able to regroup and they don't have a letdown performance, and that's kind of what I'm worried about right now. I'm not going to lie to you, ladies and gentlemen. They play tomorrow at 3:30 against Kansas. Kansas does not have Darren Peterson. They are still a good team, but they don't have Darren Peterson, who, spoiler alert, he's better than anyone on Syracuse's roster, and that's no disrespect to anyone on Syracuse's roster. Darren Peterson's going to go top 3, top 5 in the NBA draft coming up. They play him at 3:30. They just beat Notre Dame. They beat them by 10. Notre Dame isn't exactly a power this year in college basketball. Again, I mean, they haven't really been that good in a while either. I kind of view it as a must-win. Not because if Syracuse loses, that it's the end of the season. But as Neil Adler pointed out last week on the show, it's for up here. It's mental. It's so that Syracuse can prove to themselves that they can beat quality opponents. They proved tonight against Houston that they can stay competitive with anyone. If you can force the number 3 ranked team in the country to overtime and have a chance to win the game in regulation with one final shot, I'm sorry, you can go and be competitive with anyone in the country. There's no excuse to get blown out like we've seen in the past with Syracuse against quality competition. That's done. That's over. Goodbye. But now you got to prove that you can beat quality competition, especially when they're missing their best player. That's how I view it. So it's not must win in the sense that if Syracuse loses, cancel everything. They're not making the tournament. Everyone's getting fired, blah, 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 blah. It's mentally to prove to themselves that they can beat quality competition. Having said that, I don't know what they can do about the free throw shooting. I don't understand it. And I know Syracuse's history. I'm going to spare people on that moment. I'm not going to talk about it. For my younger audience or for my newer Syracuse fans, they have a history of bad free throw shooting and it letting them down. Okay? I can't explain their free throw shooting right now. It's the thing that's holding them back. It really is. Because they could have beaten Houston tonight had they just made their free throws. Again, I said it earlier on in the show. They went 12 of 29 from the free throw line. 12 of 29. It's not like Houston was great at the free throw line. They went 19 of 27. That's 70%. 12 of 29. If you hit 60% of those free throws, I'm doing the math right now, 60% of 29 would have given Syracuse 5 more points. They would have won the game. Now, obviously, it changes the game flow. But the point being is that Syracuse, I said going into the game that they were probably going to have to shoot 75 to 80% in the free throw line in order for them to have a chance at winning. That's just to have a shot. When in reality of what actually happened, if Syracuse shot 60% from the free throw line in this game with the volume that they had, they would have won. And I don't know how you correct it. I don't understand how Kiyan Anthony, who is an awesome freshman, who is a good shooter in his own right, cannot hit free throws. I don't understand it. The only explanation I have for you, ladies and gentlemen, is that he has the yips. JJ Starling is non-competitive at the free throw line now. Non-competitive. He has a better shot at making a three than he does a free throw. Have you seen his form at the free throw line? There's a hitch in it. I can't explain it. Now, William Kyle, I can excuse. I understand that William Kyle is not a good shooter. He's not a good shooter, period. He is purely an interior presence. So I can forgive him for not being a great free throw shooter. And by the way, I don't even have I'm going to pull up the numbers in a second, but just off the top of my head, I don't think William Kyle was that bad at the free throw line based on his standards. William Kyle was 4 of 9 at the free throw line, which for him is actually not bad. That's not bad for William Kyle, 4 of 9. I can live with that. Nate George, 1 for 2. JJ Starling, 0 for 3. Sadiq White, I think he had an and one that he missed in a free throw. Kiyan Anthony, 4 of 9 from the free throw line. How do you explain it other than the fact that he has the yips and the whole team has the yips? What do they need to do? I said this at the end of the Monmouth game, and of course it came back to bite him tonight. And moving forward, it's going to cost them more if they don't fix it. It can cost them tomorrow against Kansas if they don't fix this. And it sucks because there's no analysis that I can really provide. Maybe what they honestly need to do is suck it up and shoot underhanded. Yeah, I know it looks funny. It looks weird on television. Everyone will kind of chuckle a little bit that someone's shooting underhanded. But you know what? If it goes in, it goes in. What did Rick Barry shoot from the free throw line in his career? I think 90%. How did he do it? Underhand. His son, by the way, was a Division I basketball player. I believe he played for the Florida Gators. Same form. 90% free throw shooter. Maybe that's the analysis I can provide. Start shooting underhanded. If it's not going in the normal way, fix it. Suck it up. Swallow your pride because at the end of the day, you need the points. You make your free throws, you beat Houston. You make your free throws, you will definitely beat Kansas. Kansas is beatable, and that's no disrespect to Kansas. They're missing Darren Peterson, as I've said a number of times on this podcast already. You hit your free throws, you'll beat that team. You hit your free throws, you'll beat the third opponent you play in Vegas. You hit your free throws, you will have a chance against Tennessee when they come to the Dome and you got the home crowd behind you. And you will have a legitimate shot to make the NCAA tournament this year. And everyone with eligibility can come back to this team for the following season. And we're all happy. But all that stuff can only happen if you hit your free throws. then you might have to shoot underhand to do it. Comment your thoughts in the comments section below. Syracuse basketball loses a tight, competitive, but painful 78-74 battle to Houston in overtime. Now, coming up on Locked On Syracuse, post-game shows. We'll have a post-game show tomorrow after Syracuse plays Kansas. We will have a post-game show after Syracuse plays in their third game in Vegas. And also this weekend, we will have a post-game show for Syracuse football after the Boston College game. And loser of the Boston College game gets the number 1 pick in the college football recruiting draft. Comment your thoughts right now in the comments section below on this game and for the season in general, whether or not you think that this is a tournament team. Folks, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. If you like this podcast, be sure to hit that like button. If you really enjoy the podcast, be sure to hit subscribe. Tell all your friends about Locked On Syracuse, and I will see you all again soon.